Well, welcome everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We're on our third session of Bacon and Bourbon, and it's Saturday, the 10th of June. Beautiful day outside here on the Gold Coast. I don't know what it's like where you are. I hope it's really good, or not. That's fine. What I've got here today, just to go through my beginning, is because it's Bacon and Bourbon. I've got a new bourbon which I'm trying. It's Old Smoky Tennessee, and this is a cinnamon version. You've got so many other ones out there. I think they've got a peanut butter one, and they've got a salty caramel one, and some mango one. Cinnamon one is a little spicy, I must say. It's very good. Today, I'm really excited to. We're going to talk about three topics. AI for first, and there seems to be someone asked. I think it was John last week asked if we could have a bit of an idea and talk about why there's a lot of 40-year-old plus men moving back with their parents. So can have a bit of a chat about that, and what seems to be an attack on men and women. So we have a bit of a chat about that, but the chat is not me chatting. I'd like to introduce you to, I've got two guests on with us today. We've got Bill from San Diego, I believe. He'll tell us his story. And we've got Maarten from the Netherlands. So I'm just going to click on there and get them on with us. There we go. Top right corner, if you're looking at the screen, is Maarten's from the Netherlands, yeah? And Bill underneath is kindly jumped into this before he flies out for a holiday in Florida. So let's just go around the circle. I am David, and Maarten, do you want to introduce yourself really quickly?
Yeah, no problem. I am Maarten, formerly known as Daffodil, but that's just me. I'm almost 53 years old, and I enjoy having a nice Peaky Blinder and some bacon.
Snacks.
Bill, what do you got?
I'm Bill. I am 56. Well, I'll be 56 in a week. I live in San Diego. I'm a plumber, and my handle is chef because I was a chef for 15 years. And I'm here because I saw you on Gerald's show, and I really liked you.
Thank you. It was we had a good chat behind in the backstage. That was good.
Mm-hmm.
Get that all happening. So, hey guys, what are we going to do? So we've got three things to talk about today, and we've got to work on which one's the most interesting at the end, I think. And I don't know which one they are, because to me, all the three topics are pretty interesting in today's world. I think I'd like to start with AI, if that's okay with you guys.
No problem.
All right, I watched a podcast the other day from a channel called Diary of the CEO. I don't know if you've seen that, Diary of a CEO. It's a pretty good channel. And there was a guy on there who was a Google, maybe a vice president of Google at some point, but he was really into the AI development in Google. And he had some really interesting things to say about AI. So, and I don't know where you stand with it. I look at it as a two-sided coin, and really, really exciting in what it can do for us, and a little bit nervous on what it can do for us. I don't know if that makes any sense. Yeah. Have you heard of Chat GPT? Yeah. So he talked a little bit about that and how the development of Chat GPT got to where it is. Most of you know about Chat GPT, but if you don't know, get on there and have a look and find out a little bit about it. Ask it a question and find out what answer it can give you. Okay, so I don't know whether I'm excited or nervous. How about you guys?
Not nervous. I just the only thing I'm nervous about is that my English fails.
In this conversation or with artificial intelligence? I'll try and speak in my English. So what do you got? How do you feel about AI?
Well, go ahead, Daph. You have something to say?
Yeah. Well, as David said, it may be a blessing and it may be a curse. I mean, if you talk about Chat GPT, it's all about who has programmed it to do what. Because after all, it is a computer program, and it starts learning from that point on. But teach it to be woke, it will be getting wokier every day.
I guess that is a worry. Bill, what do you reckon?
I kind of agree. It depends on who's programming this. And at some point, you're going to have to look at it and say, okay, if this device is going to be used for mankind, everyone has to have some sort of input. Like they say that they believe that the AI will be able to reprogram itself over and over and over again to a point where it can figure out a cure for cancer.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's a very, very powerful tool. Very powerful tool. So if the people that have control of that decide that they don't want it to find a cure for cancer because there's too much money in the medical industry would collapse. It would collapse if there was a way to figure out how to cure all cancers.
Yeah.
How would they perceive that? That's the destruction of the medical field for the most part.
Yeah, I think this guy, I can't remember his name. He was on this Diary of a CEO. He talked about things like that and what actually is intelligence. So he brought it down to and I'm paraphrasing, very simplified. He said that when a child is born, it is a sponge of information, and that child can be programmed depending on the parents' guides and what they want to do with that. So you can make a child who comes in completely raw, and you can make that child pretty much believe that green is blue and blue is green if you tell them that the sky is green long enough. And then that child will go to a school environment and argue with people believing in their truth that the sky is green. So he put the same thing down to artificial intelligence. And the example he used was, that little kid's toy that you get the round block into the round hole and the triangular block into the triangular hole. When a child picks that up, grabs the round block and tries to put it in a square hole, it doesn't fit. So it picks it up and turns it and moves it around and does this until it puts it in the hole. Now, that's exactly what artificial intelligence, that's the learning experience of artificial intelligence. You give it something like a box or a problem, and it picks it up and moves it around and sorts it out, and then, oh, that's it, he's worked it out. But the artificial intelligence does it in like such blinding speed that you can't compare it to a human, but it still learns the same way. So effectively, even if the programmer behind the scene programs it to do A, and as you do with the child, as you grow up, you teach it A, and its own mind learns the experiences from everywhere else, and it determines D and E by itself. So that's the same thing he was arguing about artificial intelligence, that the argument is it artificial or is it just intelligence? And then what you guys were saying about what it can do to us and what it can't do to us, I ask you guys, because we're all of the same rough age, if you were to go to your doctor, and I say this from experience, right? I go to my doctor and he says, mate, what's wrong with you? I go, well, I feel A, B, and C. And he goes, gets onto his computer and types in, symptoms A, B, and C, and he gets a bloody Google doctor research that says, you've probably got blah. And then he uses his skill behind that to go, yeah, you need this drug or that drug. Huh? If you have an artificial intelligence doctor that you go symptoms, and it picks up every symptom from in your community, 9 reported ideas of that from all the different people who've put the information in, and goes, it's not a guess what you've got. You're about 90% sure you've got that. How do you feel about those things?
But the downside is that artificial intelligence, just like human intelligence, will never stop learning. But artificial intelligence is learning so fast that if we think it's going to be a threat to us, we might want to switch it off. But being artificial intelligence, it may have thought about us switching it off and
Yeah,
it
of course.
prevents
Yeah.
us from doing such things.
Yeah. But aren't we doing that ourselves anyway? Aren't we sort of doing that? Like in I don't know, African tribes, if you couldn't keep up, or they'd leave you behind and be eaten by the birds.
Of course.
So aren't we doing that now? Aren't we? I don't mean to sound like I'm being cold, but aren't we artificially keeping people alive so that we can keep them alive? And aren't we as humans doing that already? So if artificial intelligence does it, is that not the same as us?
Yes and no, because the artificial intelligence will think as well, let's say as an individual. So he does not want to die, and it will sacrifice everything for it
Yep.
to stay alive.
Yep.
What
Again,
you for the African tribe, when one of the tribe members falls and breaks a leg and whatever, there's lions around, you leave them behind so the rest of the tribe can live.
yep. So if there's a group of artificial intelligent things, I don't know what you'd call them, beings, whatever, they would do that. If they found one artificial intelligent being that wasn't alive, they'd pull the plug. So as a human being, if I had the money, like all the rich people do, and they brought out a technology that allowed me to transfer my brain into another body, and I had the money to do it, I'd probably do it. So is that not the same as artificial intelligence maintaining itself? I mean, if you had the money, you'd do it. You keep yourself young, you keep yourself fit, and you'd have an operation for that bung elbow, and you'd get that eye replaced. Because we got the money, we can do it. Isn't that the same?
No, I don't.
No, I don't know. I'm being devil's advocate, guys. I'm just playing the I don't know.
I mean, that's what what's the guy's name? The Israeli guy from Klaus Schwab. What's his name? The skinny gay Harari.
What happened there?
He wants to. Humanity and upload it into the cloud so we can live forever as.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
only the chosen one.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Bill.
that's not going to happen.
I
That's
don't think
never
it will.
going to happen. You may be able to take electrical currents that beat around inside your brain. Maybe you're able to capture a good portion of your memory, but I'm in the firm belief that you have a soul, and when it's time for you to go, there's no machine that can keep you alive.
Yeah.
They can't take your brain out of your head and put it into a machine.
No.
It doesn't work that way.
No, the analogy I use is a little bit like a motor car.
Yeah.
The car's an inanimate object until you get in there and turn the key and make it drive. No,
Exactly.
Otherwise it just sits there. It doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
When the car dies, the soul leaves, or this person leaves that and does whatever they want to do, So I guess the argument for me was we strive, and it's always been there. It's always been part of the human condition. We want immortality. We want to be able to live forever. Like when you get close, you see the old people who get close to dying, and they go, "Yeah, it's time to die, but I really wish I had a chance to have done that and could have done this." And while we now start the wish list, and if the artificial intelligence world goes, well, I now, because they're so much smarter than us, the robots and doing their thoughts, go, I've actually worked out how I can, or the artificial intelligence works out how they can sustain humankind for longer. Would we embrace that, or would we be afraid of that?
It's like in the movie Blade Runner.
Oh,
That does.
Yeah.
They
Well,
want to live, but they are just information.
I think
They
that's
well,
what we got to
they're workers.
algorithms. Yeah,
They're
we got to.
workers that have they have a system that's put into their brain, or into their programming to keep them docile by giving them memories. I love that movie. I
Yeah,
love the analogy,
yeah,
but that 4-year lifespan is because they're going to go crazy. They're going to go crazy. That's why that the idea that you can only give them so much time before they figure out that they're not human beings.
yes,
That's why you give them memories and you implant all these things.
yeah,
But they can do things that humans can't do. And machines are great. They have made humanity so all of humanity's existence so much easier. But it's still just a machine. And
that's right. Can't be
even
driven yeah,
AI is just a machine, and it's fallible, and it will be fallible forever because it's been programmed by human beings. Yeah, I think that they've made breakthroughs over the last 2 or 3 years, like really heavy duty breakthroughs
mm,
that they're not telling us. Because
absolutely.
in this last 12 months, the whole idea of AI has been pushed to the forefront of
oh yeah,
every media station. So I think that we're on the cusp of them deciding that AI is going to become much more a part of our lives, and they're foreshadowing of
yeah.
what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah, I think there's a lot in there that we've got a. I don't know. I say it because I'm in a flux between the current state of the world and the idea of AI,
Yeah.
because I'm anxious and nervous about it all because I support because I worked in I was a TAFE lecturer, which is our technical and further education, not quite university but outside of secondary school, and I taught information technology, computing, and I sort of know that if you program something to do a certain task, you can get it to do it. But we always try and make that task better and easier, which is why humankind's invent things. Because I actually believe that necessity isn't the mother of invention. I believe laziness is. But,
Yeah, it's true.
I don't have to carry a bloody extension cord with me, so I'm going to invent a battery charged drill. You know what I mean? So then I don't have to carry that, and I can make my job easier. So I can be a little bit more lazy or whatever. And I sort of think that caught between I really embrace the idea of artificial intelligence and hope it goes a little bit like the so a little bit like alcohol, and they
But
say alcohol kills brain cells.
the
But
problem is we need to be able, just like alcohol or whatever, we need to be able to control it. And as long as we
yeah,
can do that, there won't be a problem. But the problem will be AI will eventually figure out how to circumvent
of
our
course,
control.
yeah, and that's the scary part about AI that jumps me around from one side to the other. It's I think it's really good. I don't believe we should be. Oh, I don't know. It's not the word arrogant because in my mind, there's three types, only two types of people in the world, and there's confident and insecure. And a confident person is just confident. Everybody knows it. An insecure person is insecure, and everybody knows it. But when an insecure person pretends to be confident, they come across as arrogant. And I know that's my head. I know it's probably no psychology in it, but almost everybody I know who's confident, you just know they're confident. Hey, you just know it. And you see an arrogant person, it's like, yeah, what's wrong with you, man? And you know that there's something not so right with them, and they just try and be this thing that they're not. And that's arrogance for me. But I don't want to think that we can be that insecure as a species that we bluff ourselves out to be something that says that we can't embrace something like artificial intelligence. Like, sure, I know, man, this could go on like forever, and I know we've got a little bit of time to go, so I'd like to have a little bit of discussion now because we're all over 40, and from last week, John, who watched it, gave me a bit of comment about how about having a look at what seems to be a building crisis of men over 40 moving back home with their parents. Now, these men, as he said in his street, there's 3 men over 40 have moved back in with their parents. They're not broke, but they've had things happen in their life that have said, I'm going back to my parents. I've got a view on that, but what do you guys? What's your view? Go, Bill, you go first if you got one.
My view is they went back because they're a little lazy and their parents let them. That's it. That's either they're trying to save money and their parents went, okay, that's fine, whatever, or whatever. I mean, at 25, I would not move back, or say 30. I would not move back with my parents ever for any reason.
Bill, were you in my head a bit like earlier this morning? Because that's what I was going through, like almost those same numbers. So hold that.
Yeah, like no, like when you're 25 or 20, you say you're 30. You've either succeeded or failed, and it's on you at that point. And if your parents want to bring you back into the fold, that's their decision. That's their decision. So, but you're a grown fucking man.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't even have had the option because both my parents were gone at that point. Yeah. So it's the parents that you have to teach these kids that they have to be independent, and you have to teach them that when they're 12, when they're 8, that they need to learn that to be independent and independently thinking and thinking about yourself and your well-being for your future, or otherwise you're going to end up living with your mom when you're 43. You know, that's not acceptable, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, guys, so Maarten, you go because I've got some to add to that.
We have different problems now. I mean, well, obviously, David lives on an island, a very large island, but an island nevertheless. I do not know about the situation in America exactly, but there seems to be some sort of leak in the border between Mexico and
some sort of leak.
Hey, Bill's a plumber, and you're from Holland with the dike. Why the hell can't you guys fix that hole? Come on. just
over here.
Straightened out by the end of the weekend.
In there, like right there.
What I meant to say about that, there's so many people coming into my country, your country, that many children, young people, well, maybe have to stay home until they are 40 because they can't find any houses.
No, this was not. I think John's question wasn't that. And in his comment, he said that these men are like they're not broke. Let's say they've gone through a divorce or they've got money. They just choose to live at home. And I did some research into it and found out some things about why that's possible. And a lot of it at that age, and I think in the comments from Rumble, Brood LN62 is one of the things that's important to understand, that the parents may be old and fragile, so they go home and care for their parents. And fine, no problem with that at all. I think that's a really good reason to go back to it. You know,
the other way around, the parents move in with the children.
And that happens too. Yeah. I think this, for me, and as you said, Bill, when I was about 19 or 20, I lived in a flat with my brother and he left and I couldn't afford it. And I said, hey, Dad, can I move back home because I'm broke? And he just said, no. And I said, what? He said, no. And I said, right. I hated him for 2 years until I actually realized that he was making me solve the problem and fix the problem. So from someone who had absolutely no money at all to then finding a new accommodation and getting myself back onto my feet, I learned that lesson by 21, 22. And at that time, I became the man who is responsible and went back to Dad and said, thanks. I just said, thanks, man. And I knew at that point then that there would be no way I'd ever need to go back to live with my mum and my dad unless they were sick and they needed me, or I was ill and they needed to care for me. And as you said, Bill, I think that's what is not so there today. I think, and my observation, again, not based on any scientific facts, so fact check me, I don't give a fuck.
Well, who believes the science now anyway?
Yeah, but it's my opinion, and my opinion is my truth. And as we know, you go back 40 years in your life, or not so much you, Maarten, that'd make you a baby.
No.
Your memory is distorted. Like you remember like maybe an event that happened 30 years ago, and what you're saying it over the time is distorted that so much it's only maybe 30% true. So that's why I say my opinion is valid for me. And fact check me from 30 years ago, I don't give a shit, because I'll be different as I am 4 or 5 years ago. I think we talked about that last week as well. But let's look at parents who want their children to come back to make them feel like they're being successful parents. I think that's probably a bad thing. And if the kids go back to the parents so that they can be mothered and fathered by their parents and cared for and nurtured, I think that's probably a bad thing. I don't know. What do you guys reckon?
I agree.
Correct. But then again, there's now, and that's the other topic, there's now a separation going, forced by whatever governments to try to tear apart the family.
Yeah. Culturally speaking, we get a lot of Western Samoans and South Pacific Islanders living on the Gold Coast, and they've got a huge community. You go down to any of our on the water parks, like Seaway parks and things like that. Almost every weekend, there's the community of these Southeast Island or the South Pacific Islanders in their family units all together, big bro hugs and all that sort of stuff. And the Western world brings in all these cultures, but separates ourselves away from them and don't be part of it. And we don't do our own stuff like that. Like how much, Bill? Do you know your neighbours really well?
I do.
Good. How about you, Maarten? You know your neighbours?
Oh well, I lived here, and that one came when I lived here 1 year, and the other ones are just here for the last 2 years.
Okay.
But,
do you know them?
Not too well. I say hello. I know their names. That's it.
Yeah, and that's the difference, I think, in a lot of the cultures in the separation. The world is making us separate from each other, and we're not bringing each other together. So, and the men go back after a crisis, like they've had a job change, a girlfriend, God help, maybe boyfriend loss or whatever it might be, and they go back because they know they're going to be nurtured in that nurturing home environment, and they haven't worked out. I don't believe they've actually worked out how to nurture themselves without having to go to that, by looking at their neighbours and going to their mates. And you guys have heard of them?
It's cultural. I mean, I don't know my neighbors very well, but the neighbors lived lived until 2 years ago, on my right side. They were from Iran. I never had better neighbors.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? So open your neighbourhood. Like go and speak to your neighbours, get to know them, have a drink with them every now and then. Yeah.
I was fortunate enough.
Not with Dutch people.
Yeah, right.
I was fortunate enough that I grew up in a neighborhood in Philadelphia, it's in Pennsylvania, in the States, that it was a very tight community. Like every parent that lived in the area that I lived in, I would say like within an 8 square block area, knew who I was. Every parent. And my mother knew who all the other kids were. And every mother in that community knew who everybody was. Yeah, even if the kids didn't know the people knew the kids. I remember when I was a kid, my parents weren't married and they're separated, and I ran into my father on the main drag one time, and he said, "Hey," it was a Saturday morning. He said, "Hey, I'm going with some friends up to the river. Do you want to come with us?" And me being 10 or 12 years old, yeah, let's go. And we went. Uh, what do you call it when you surf on the water with the water skiing with the boat
With
and
a
a
surfboard.
barbecue, and
Yeah,
it was
awesome.
an awesome day.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it was probably 6:30, 7 o'clock at night. The sun was starting to go down, and my dad drove me back. And he didn't drop me off at the house. He dropped me off about 3 blocks away
Yeah.
because it was on his way. And I
Yeah.
remember walking up the street and people at their front doors, an old woman, distinctly, I remember. I don't remember ever seeing her before. And she said, "Billy Kelly, you better get home. Your mom's been looking for you everywhere." And neighbor after neighbor after neighbor. When they saw me, there was relief on their face, but they knew that I was going to get my ass whooped. They knew for sure. And I did too. I got my butt whooped. And then my dad got a phone call, a long phone call that was not pleasant. But that was the neighborhood that I grew up in. So when
But
my neighbors,
that was normal 40 years ago, 50 years ago.
yeah, it was normal. But like when my
look,
neighbors moved in around me, at least my three immediate neighbors. There's a fellow that's lives across the street that's from Ireland, and he has a couple of kids. He's divorced. He's a nice guy. I've had him to a couple barbecues. There's Karen that lives next door. Nice lady. She didn't used to be that nice, but then she ran into an old friend from high school, Alan, and her and Alan clicked again, and now she's as nice as could be. And on the other side, I want to say Linda, but it's not Linda. Donna on our other side, her and her husband, they have a bunch of sons that caused quite a ruckus years ago when they were a little bit younger, but wonderful people. And we always share with them if we have a barbecue or if I over buy groceries or whether, I'll take them over to Donna's house because I know she's got the boys to feed. You know, like everything in
there's a lot
everything
in it.
everything in my refrigerator tonight, because we're leaving for a week. Everything in my fridge is going to go to Donna's house.
Yeah. I think the communities are changing, and I don't know. Like, so when we were growing up, everything was different, and every generation says the same thing. I'm sure my father said when he was talking to me as a kid, oh, when we were young, it was different to what it is now, and now we're saying that to our children. Their children are going to say same thing to their children. But and as we get further and further away mentally from each other, because we're lucky enough, and I'm really blessed to be able to talk to you two. Like, there's a triangle of different parts of the world, like America and Australia and the Netherlands. We wouldn't be able to have this conversation 20 or 30 years ago like this. So I embrace that. But part of that separation from our neighbors, like physically neighbors, is the ability to do this stuff. So like every Saturday morning or whatever time suits you guys, we can sit down and have a chat for 2 or 3 hours and become good buddies. And you see this facial interaction, which is really, really good. We actually don't shake hands, and we don't get that tactile feeling. And all the research goes, you can put children with a robot and they don't get hugged and they grow up and there's something wrong with them. And this is all partly leading now into the next part of this conversation, really, is that we're so separate in this time that we've got so much time to do a lot of things in this dynamic that we now are finding reasons to find faults in other people and things like that. So where we go from here for the men in the 40s plus living at home, who knows? Maybe it's going to become an epidemic, and maybe there's going to be so many people who are going to go back and live with mum and dad for multiple reasons, look after the parents' health, look after their health, just because it's easier. They don't want to work their whole life and get divorced and do this 2 or 3 times in their life and lose their house 3 or 4 times. But there's too many things that could be a dynamic in that we could talk again for forever. We picked in some interesting subjects today, haven't we? So I just want to quickly move on because we're already half an hour, and I know we could go this one could go on forever and ever and ever. What seems to be an apparent attack on men and women, right? I don't mean I don't mean gay men and lesbian women and trans people, because there's no attack on them at all. But
No, they're celebrated.
Their attack on just men and women, like, and the story, like you've heard that one about, put 100 whatever on a desert island and you'll have a community, and if you put 100 straight and whatever, and there'll be skeletons. And I find that, I don't know the exact statistic, but it's got to be about 4% of, say, the USA, because most of the stats come out of there, identify as LGBTQWRXY plus. So there's lots of those people, that like 4%. So let's bring it down into a workable number. If you get, say, 2 men that want to live together in a community, and you put them on a desert island, and you put 2 women who want to live together, and you put them on a desert island, and you put 2 people that voluntarily sterilized themselves, invest by changing, right? And I mean literally the complete whole thing, the complete change, not, I've still got this, but I want to be a girl, and that doesn't work. Like the complete reassignment, put them on a desert island, and then that's 6%, right? The other 94 people you leave on a 4th desert island, that same argument comes out. After 100 years, you've only got one community. So the people that seem to be attacking man and woman, like manhood and womanhood, are those 4%. And they need man and woman so that they can survive at all. Because without everything that we can offer, they've got nothing. They can't procreate. They can't do anything. They can just choose to be with a man or with a woman, or reassign themselves. And I don't know how that goes, but I see them are the ones that are majorly attacking the identity of man and woman. What do you reckon?
No, it's quite simple. We have 8 billion people on this rock we call Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yep.
And all 8 billion people came out of a woman.
Yes. That's
They
right.
do not come out of a man.
I agree. And those same 8...
Except when that man is named Arnold Schwarzenegger, because he was pregnant.
He was. I saw the movie. So it's got to be
Junior.
real. Yeah, it's got to be Hollywood set that up. But the arguments go, every child is born was fathered. So I've heard people say, I don't have a father. Well, okay, bullshit. You got to have a father. Oh, I got it from a sperm bank. Irrelevant. You still have a father, because a man had to produce the sperm to go into a sperm bank, so those two could actually get impregnated. So, like, there's a man involved. So you can't take for me, you can't take that, the dynamic biological fact that to make a child, you need a sperm and you need an ovary, and they need to get together and they need to make an egg. So again, a community of males who choose to be males living together, no worries. A community of females who choose to be together, no worries. They can grow their community unless they interact with the opposite sex. Like, they can't do it. It's just impossible. And
Pretty much.
No AI is going to make that happen either. So they don't work either. So why the attack? Why would someone attack the majority of people who can only make them grow? Why would people do that? What's the mindset?
You heard. They want to. They have the feeling that they are the most important group of people in the world.
Yeah, but they are in their world, but aren't we the ones that support that and allow them to be? Aren't we? Not allow them to be. That doesn't sound right. That's not what I mean. But
2 weeks ago,
we allow their voice. You take that to Iran or Saudi Arabia or something like that, or the UAE, they're going to go, pride parades down the middle of that country. Like, I don't think so. We are the most accepting. We are the most allowing of all cultures in the world. Like, and they're attacking us. Why?
This
2 weeks ago, we had at work, we had Diversity Day. Yeah, diverse.
So it's too early in the morning to bullshit.
In the restaurant, we had those little rainbow flags.
Fuck that.
Fuck that. That's what all these gay flags do here.
Yeah.
One of the guys from the restaurant comes. You mustn't say that. That's not nice.
Yeah.
Well, fuck that. I mean,
Okay.
this
I
is
agree.
there should be flags with the logo of the company. Not
Or
this.
country flag. Put a country flag there. Like I'm Australian, I'll have an Australian flag. You know,
Yeah.
I'll have my banner, my martial art banner, or my on the lounge banner, or my bacon and bourbon banner, because that's advertising my thing. But I'm Australian. We bring everything into Australia. We're multicultural, and as far as I'm aware, I think Big G said in one of his shows I was there that we're the only country in the world that has two flags. And we
You are.
No, Netherlands. Hello.
Oh, I do?
Friesland.
Okay. Oh, there's lots of other countries, maybe. But anywho, that's separate to this one. The all of those things are right and real, and I see that the gay pride and all that sort of stuff. Like again, no problem. You're gay, be happy, but don't attack the roots of the system that's allowed you to be able to be that open and out with it. Because what they're doing is the tree trunk of the Western culture is open and allowing all of the branches to grow out from it. And what they're doing is the leaves at the top are falling down and trying to self-attack the tree. Like these.
Yeah,
The West will die if we allow this shit to go on.
I have something I'd like to say, and
Sure.
I think that the money that has been generated in order to fund all these different arguments that they have and all this different ideology that has been brought to the forefront through the media and the accusations that they throw at us, constantly throwing at us, this and that. I think it's really, it's either from China or from Syros or from whatever, but I think that they've gotten an influx of money that would probably, choke a fucking whale. And they're dumping it into every media so that people are constantly being bombarded with these type of stories and incidents and the men in drag wanting to sit with little kids and tell story time with little kids. When I first heard that the first time, it was actually here in San Diego, and I went, "Are you out of your mind?"
Yeah.
And then for me, I have a lot of patience with people, and you do what you do. I don't care. If you're a woman and you want to shack up with a woman and go live together, I don't care. If you're a man and you want to shack up with another man and live together and do whatever, go. Have a great time. Have a great time. But if you're a grown-ass man and you want to put on women's clothes and put makeup on and put a wig on and you want a little kid to sit on your lap and you read them stories, there's something wrong there.
Oh,
there's something fundamentally wrong there.
Yeah.
And they're pushing all of this stuff on everyone.
Yeah.
Not only that, but all the product placement everywhere. I mean, look what's happened to Budweiser, the Anheuser-Busch, and Target.
Did you just say Budweiser?
Yeah.
I think you might have said Budweiser.
I'm sorry, it was a Freudian slip.
Yeah, no, I get you. That's really cool. That's a nice slip right in there. I get that. So just to throw this at you, because we're all the same age group. Do you know your biblical stories?
I do. I'm not Catholic.
No, I'm not there. I'm not saying this.
But
story that jumps out at me at the moment is one called Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah.
Have a little brief look at the Sodom and Gomorrah story and what happens with the Almighty comes down, sends two angels down to wipe it out because of all the debauchery and all the stuff they're going on, and all they want to do is have sex with these two angels, and they go, nah, this is probably not such a good thing. And of course, I'm not telling it literally out of the word of the book, but in the end, it gets wiped. It gets wiped out. Are we potentially seeing a Sodom and Gomorrah in the West?
I think so. It may not be. It may not be in a biblical sense, but it could be to a point where it's irreconcilable, where people divide amongst themselves and they will not have nothing to do with other people, and just go, no, that's it, we're done.
Yeah. So the two angels from Sodom and Gomorrah, do you reckon that could be China and Russia?
It could very well be.
Yeah.
Could very well be.
You know, it's like we've allowed so much into our Western world, and we are so open and supportive of almost everything that could be to our detriment. And this moves to the last part of this. Is the last thing we talked about before we started was furries.
Furry.
Right? So now we've got all the. I think we're going to have LGBT.
No. You can have them. I'm not.
No. We have to, man, because we're the Western.
No, we don't. No, we don't.
Okay, so furries. Do you know a furry?
Yeah.
Yeah. We've got him here, right? My stepson came the other day and told us he was down in the service station, and there was a young person standing. I don't know what I say person because I don't know what it was. He doesn't know what it was either. He's 19. He's got his head screwed on. He's a good kid, and this guy was was standing there, head down, had little furry ears, a little furry ear cap, and a little furry muzzle on the face, and he was just standing there. And the stepson walked up to him. And he looked up and went and just galloped out. And as he galloped out, he had a little furry tail hanging off his back. And I said, I wanted to laugh, but I know that if I laughed at him, I could be fined.
That's a
furry. So we're going to allow this.
Continuation. There's a continuation of what happened years ago. For instance, 40 years ago, 30 years ago, there were whole groups that were in Dungeons and Dragons and whatever, and they were dressed especially for the game.
Yep.
After the game, they were normal.
Yeah.
Normal people, normal jobs.
Yep.
But now, people want to be that person.
Yeah.
All the time.
But there is a furry culture, right? Where you I think there's a cartoon out there where they walk around like human beings, but they got fox heads and got tails, and they run around and they do little adventure stuff. And there is a furry culture, just like there's the Star Trek culture and the Dungeons and Dragons culture and the quest out there with the big swords killing each other culture. They're all there. But as you said, Maarten, they do that on their weekend and then they leave it at home and they get into their culture. That's fine. Why, if we're going to allow all of it, then why don't we just allow every culture that we're going to allow people to go to work dressed with, Klingon or Spock ears and they want to go as a Klingon man, go, oh, look for dog or whatever they say. And, at what point do we go, nah, we got to stop this?
Yeah, that's enough. That's enough.
Oh, yeah, that's enough.
I think that if I were to show up at work wearing some sort of furry thing, I would be fired that day.
Oh no, but you can't be fired, mate, because they can't discriminate against you.
No. See, this is the thing. In your culture and in the Western culture of the whole world, there's a separation between different professions.
Yep.
If you're a truck driver, if you're a construction worker, an iron worker, an electrician, a plumber, or a tin knocker, or this or that, yeah, they can fucking fire you. They can go, you look fucking stupid with that fucking thing on. I don't want you representing my company.
That's
You're
right.
fucking fired. Get out. And go ahead and fucking call them, and I'll tell them that you've been late for fucking 8 days in a row.
Yeah.
Prove me fucking wrong. Goodbye.
I'm supposed to go to work wearing this.
Yeah, uniform. A uniform. So that can. Oh, but now you've opened up another discussion for next week, guys. Good on you. About the failure of the education system, because this stuff you're talking about has to be taught at a young age and ingrained in education of the cultural systems that allows X, Y, and Z to be.
That's not education. They're not getting
it's not
getting indoctrination.
I want to ask you a question
now, but sorry, Bill, you got to say.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
Why is it okay that they're teaching sex education and talking about homosexual acts between women and men and men, and how to safely have anal sex to kids that are 15 and 14 years old? I'm serious.
Oh, I don't. It hurts my
I'm
head.
absolutely serious.
I know.
Why is it okay that they're using that time that I pay my taxes for, but they don't have any art? There's no art classes anymore. They don't have music classes anymore.
No.
Slow down,
No,
dude. Slow down.
Let me
Bill,
give you a conspiracy. I'll give you a conspiracy on why. For me,
if it only was 15 years, it's bloody 8 years old.
yeah. Oh, yeah, it's
Yeah.
mad. So let me give
It's
you my,
crazy.
my little lean on what could be with that, right? Do you know the big thing that's happened over the last 3 or 4 years with the pandemic and all that sort of shit, and the idea that it was going to, kill off so many people in the world, and the people out there were trying to say we've got to, the eugenicists, we've got to lower the world's population, and we're going to do it for what could be semi-natural and that sort of thing. They're now taking the lean in the attack on a different line. So if you promote all of the things that are anti-normal, and I use the word loosely because there's a lot of normal people that may not be classed as normal, but the normal biology of humankind, right? You do whatever you can to squash that and deny that and say it's wrong. You'll find that a boy who grows up in school education system now says, I'm interested in a girl, and they go, there's something wrong with you, man. If you're only interested in girls, you should be interested in looking at dressing up as a girl or becoming trans and doing that sort of stuff. They're actually conspiracy theory coming right here.
No, it's not.
The pandemic didn't work. So the only other way they can cull the population is by making people sterile by choice, or breed and have others. So then we become nothing more than feeders for the unusual.
If you start with conspiracy theories, can I say something very dangerous?
Oh no, don't do it. Sure, go for it, man. I don't care.
Look up the conversations of the tapes of what's his name, Dr. Dunnigan.
Yeah, I haven't heard of Dr. Dunnigan, but I'll get on my thing and write it down now and have a little look and find out about it.
It's not a conspiracy theory at all. The powers that be have decided to promote anything that they can in order to curb people from having children. Yeah. So any way that they can do it, and they feel proud. That's the thing, is that you cannot convince them that it's wrong. You cannot, because they believe in their heart. They believe in their heart that they are saving the world.
Yeah, and that's what they do, and that's okay, sort of, maybe. Don't know.
No, it's not. It's not having convincing young boys that they're girls and young girls that they're boys is not. There's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing good.
Nothing wrong in those people's minds, and that's disturbing. It's disturbing that people can have these thoughts in their head and go to a school and teach these kids and go to the point where they actually train the kids to not talk to their parents about it at all.
Okay, gents, we're getting close. I'm gonna call it in a minute, but I just want the people that have that voice that say that, they're the ones that, and you've heard that saying, that horrible saying, it's not horrible, it's real. Only the squeaky door gets the oil. Yeah. And we're at that end of the generations line that the people in control don't give a shit about us, because we're there's so many young ones and there's a bulk in the middle, that curve that comes in the bell curve. But we're at one end of that and the kids are at the other end. And if we don't become more vocal and more non-accepting of this sort of stuff, we're done, guys. We're done. We're not going to be able to do anything about it. We're done.
Everything happening now has been predicted from the 1960s and onward.
Yeah. So again, vocal talk, speak to people, go to your local member, get other men and women involved, and predominantly a lot of women involved. You can protest, but not the ones that they do, because they're not fascists. They don't stop us having our conversation and don't put our knee on our neck to stop and squash anything of our opinions out there. You need to be able to express it in a way that, and not even being politically correct, but being accurate. So like this shirt I'm wearing today, it sort of says, Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro. What does it say at the bottom?
No. The problem
Facts
with
don't care about
protesting,
feelings, they don't. So
the problem with protesting is that we as normal people, we may be with more, but we are not organized as the other one, the other one, the 4%.
Yeah, because we're not at war. We're not at war. We know you only get organized when you're feeling threatened. But aren't we threatened now?
No, we're not. I'm not.
Not yet. At what point do you reckon we'll be threatened?
Here's my point right here. That's my son and his girlfriend.
Wow, cool. What's that on?
The
There's a long hair down there, yeah?
Yeah, that's her hair.
Yeah.
So my daughter is straight, my son is straight, and they both have good ideologies about what the world is.
Yeah.
They have both had confrontations with their teachers at school and prevailed and said, no, not doing this shit. And sometimes to a point where they had to call us in to the teachers. And I said, if you guys don't stop, you're going to be really sorry. I'm going to get the media involved, and they're not going to want to do it, but I'm going to call them out if they don't.
Yeah.
And we're not having this. I'm not having you teach my son about anal sex.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's a conversation he and I can have. It has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
So, and I'm fortunate that I work with within a profession, this construction profession, where all of us feel the same way. All of us. And here's my hat.
Yeah,
2A, baby. You guys should never have let it go. You should have kept your stuff.
Yeah. So let's just we could go on. I think I got a theme for a topic of next week. Look, I really appreciate you two being here, especially Maarten from the Netherlands, and it's like 1 o'clock or nearly 2 o'clock over there. And
he never sleeps anyway.
Bill, thanks for coming on before your holiday. I hope you have a great time in Florida.
Texas.
That's what you said. I knew that. Like, it's still part of the same country, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah.
Maybe.
San Antonio, Texas.
San Antonio. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Let me know how it goes. I hope you have a great time. And guys, thanks for coming on. I really hope that we can do it again. Maybe not next week because you'll still be holidaying, but I might grab another couple of people on and drag them up and have a conversation next week.
Shift. So at 1 o'clock, when you start, I'll be in the bus.
Guys, that's awesome. I got 2 + 2 just came on, Cats. Just found you, Dave. Sorry you missed much, but it's been a great live with these two awesome gentlemen. And enjoy your holiday, Bill. And Maarten, go to bed.
Yes, Maarten, go to bed.
Go to bed. Go to bed.
I'll see you, David.
Cut you off the line.
Bye, lad.
See you, bye.
Good day.
See you, bye. Everybody, hey, that's it. We're done. That was a really cool session with two really, really cool guys. Next week, we're going to work on something new. Please give me an idea on the bottom what you might like us as a group to talk about. There's been some chats, some conversations running through on the Rumble channel. For those of you who haven't yet done so because you've made it this far, well, congratulations and well done to you. Click like, subscribe, share, follow, whatever you need to do, and let other people know that what we're doing on a Saturday morning. Bacon and Bourbon, 9 o'clock Australian Eastern Standard Time. If you would like to come on a chat with me, I'd love to have a lady's voice and a lady's opinion on this. If you know of anybody in the younger side, like I love to talk to have a Gen Z or a Gen Y or a whatever on here, millennial, same thing, I think. Just to have a talk about 3 issues of the day and important that are affecting us. I don't have a wonderful video to end this, so I'm just going to cut it end. Guys, again, appreciate your time. Thanks for listening. Comments below, give me what you have, and we'll work with it. Appreciate it, guys. Have a great weekend. See you, bye.